We have an NGO called the Art Outreach Society, and the main intention of the NGO was to kind of infiltrate into the fabric of society. Because what I noticed at the gallery is that much of the art stays within the white cube and it doesn't spill out. Both at Kashi and at the NGO, we work with colleges, we work with schools, and when I say schools, we kind of cover the entire strata of society. You know, we work with private schools, government schools, as well as slum children. So we see how we can take art in various forms and formats to them. So it would be anything from art education to art appreciation, art for healing, which is very important because, as you know, mental health, emotional health is not addressed in our communities all over the nation at all. And art is a great way to address those things. So we work with professionals in that regard. And we have art therapists who come from different parts of the world and who work here for a period of time. And then we have community building projects. Some of them are small, some of them are large. The whole idea is to work with, you have a small arts organization, and small arts organizations work in a way that it cuts through the fabric of society. You know, it goes deep. Large organizations kind of plow through and make the, pave the way for the small arts organizations. So that's what we largely do. We have about 45 volunteers on board. That's kind of what happens with the community projects. And I try and bring in culture as much as possible. For example, we have a residency that happens every year with Kashi. And this year it was about material culture. And when you bring material culture on the table and you ask young artists to kind of think outside the box and see how their culture connects with the material culture in Kochi, so you're kind of juxtaposing and you're marrying two cultures in terms of material and also highlighting how material is so important in culture, which is, either taken for granted, not thought of, and because of the way things are moving in society today, material is not considered as an element of culture, which it truly is, especially in a place like Fort Cochin, So those are kind of projects we work on from various different angles. So sometimes they might be very powerful, sometimes they might be powerful but simple. What I always do is I just give a kind of a base for the artists to work on, because I don't want to get into their space and their thought process. And what we found is that when these young artists came, for them Fort Cochin was something absolutely new. Kochi was new. They've never been here before. And three of them were from the north of India. One was from the interiors of Kerala. So even for him, Fort Kochi is new. And so when you talk about material in Fort Kochi, it's the terracotta, the tiles. You have the rust from the ships. You have iron. You have you have the trees, and you have the rain trees, and you have all kinds of materials that form our architecture as well as culture and everything. So from granite, which is little, to laterite stone, which is a lot, and much of it remains the same, right? Even the plastering on the wall, which is not new age plastering, it is has a process that it follows, which is found here. So everything becomes a part of the residency, and then they marry it with their thought and what they've learned all these years staying, wherever they are from, whether it's from Jaipur or Baroda, wherever they come from. So it's kind of interesting to see the marrying taking place. So they're learning, we're learning, and Fort Kochi is highlighted as a cultural hub of even materials, So it can be even just plain cotton that has come up with spices, so much. Cultural diversity, when you look at it, it's amazing, because you're talking about 1 square mile, and 1 square mile holds so much. It's actually brimming with it. My fear is that it shouldn't be lost in the whole idea of tourism, because people are moving out, and people hold so much of culture. People are culture. So we have very few Anglo-Indians living here now. Jews, of course, they have migrated and they've moved. And in fact, that's a project I'm just going to cut in and talk to you about, is what I'm doing with Kashi is a community project for the Biennale. And I'm working with an Jewish Israeli artist who's a third generation Kochini Jew in Israel. And we're connecting what happened during the migration. The transition is a gap. Nobody really knows. There are a lot of hidden stories. A lot of them have been brushed under the carpet. The rich merchants who left from here lived as refugees there, so they don't want to talk about a lot of things. So we're connecting archives through art. And that's a project that we're working on. So we've been working on it for about a year now, and we're going to have the first part of it at the Biennale and then continue it, and hopefully even with the museum in Tel Aviv. So that's, there's so much that's possible. And instead of losing the architecture, and instead of losing the food and the identities of people, we can preserve it. So it's something that we need to cherish, which I'm a little afraid that we might lose it, but not necessarily so. It's a melting pot of ancient cultures, and with the Biennale coming and art galleries actually investing in culture, and there's not really much of trade going on. There's not much of art trade going on here. Very little. I mean, you compare it to other parts of India, but there's so much of culture that's happening through the galleries. And that's where I think hats off, to the gallery owners who actually take that effort to do it, because you're preserving it for both the tourists as well as the locals. For about 10, 12 years, very few locals were involved in the art gallery. I've been associated with as a writer, as a curator, but now you have more people involved, and the intellectual idea behind it is changing, which is beautiful. We have the schools we work with, and when we bring the kids over, they have umpteen questions to ask the artists. So it's not just ancient culture anymore. There's contemporary culture that's sprouted, and there's also international culture that's coming, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.